It's another tall one. He's here. He's here. He's only a little, isn't he?
Do you want the roving mic?
No. All right. How's that? Good evening. If you have a mobile phone, if you'd like to put it on silent, please. Thank you.
Echoing, John. I got you.
Right. Huge welcome back to Lawrence Wright with a few questions. Big ones, apparently. And attempts to answer some of them. Questions like, who are we? And why are we here? What happens when we die? Lawrence has researched some strange subjects like flat Earth and our power grid, for instance, whereby power cables attached to pylons carrying electricity seemingly going nowhere. Always entertaining and controversial. Please welcome Lawrence Wright.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Rob. I'm always thinking of a new talk, and I was inspired to do this talk when I can only describe this as, I'm probably the first person at New Horizons to actually state categorically that I have travelled back in time. And it was the most profound experience I have ever had. I went to bed as normal one evening, and I woke up about 4 o'clock, which happens quite a lot, and I needed a drink, so thirsty. Went downstairs, got a drink, went back to bed. And the next thing I know, let me tell you where I used to live. I used to live in Poyton in Cheshire, not too far from here, up near Macclesfield, Stockport area. And I lived on a road called Park Lane. It's called Park Lane because there was a park at the back, and I can still remember the house I first used to live in when I was a very small child. Terraced house on Park Lane with a park at the back and swings and roundabouts and all that sort of stuff. It's all been built on since. And anyway, I went back in time, back to the year 1960, when I was 2 years old. But the difference about this time travel was I went back to 1960 for precisely 10 seconds. And when I went back in time, I was back in the 2-year-old body when I was 2 years old, and I ran down the garden. I instantly recognised the garden where I lived, path that went right down the middle of the garden to a gate at the bottom which led to the park. And I ran full pelt down the garden, counting to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I felt the feelings of being 2 years old and the euphoria. And you forget what it's like when you're a kid. You haven't got a care in the world. And then I instantly woke up and realised I'd been transported back in time in an out-of-body experience back to the age of 2. And I woke up and I was buzzing for the rest of the day. So let's just imagine that your life is like a series of DVDs. And obviously, generally speaking, you can only watch a DVD in a linear fashion. But there is something other than linear time. It's not the only form of time. And we'll be coming into that after the break. But before I move on to the main body of this presentation, I want to talk briefly about dreams to see whether you, the audience, are experiencing the same sort of things that I have. First point is, the only dreams I can remember are the really profound ones, or the ones where it repeats and repeats and repeats. And most days I'll get up in the morning and I'll know I've been dreaming. I haven't got a clue what it's about. It's like I've been given some kind of mental amnesia, so I can't remember my dreams. So may I ask the audience, do any of you of the audience ever have, can you remember your dreams from last night, for example? Anybody? You can. Okay. Well, generally speaking, though, I mean, if I said to you, write a book about your entire life, you could probably write several volumes. Write a book about your dreams, and it's just going to be a few pages about the ones that you repeat and the ones that scared you shitless and stake in your mind. So just give me a show of hands. Do you generally forget your dreams when you wake up? Generally. So most of the audience, you're forgetting your dreams. Okay. Now, I had a period of time when I was dreaming that I could fly. Okay. Anybody else had dreams of flying? Nearly everybody. Okay. And flying in what appears to be this realm that we're in, Earth. I was flying for years, not in an aeroplane, but flying myself, and But the thing was, I didn't flap my arms to fly. It was just the power of thought. So those of you who've said that you could fly in your dreams, were you flapping your arms or was it from the power of thought? Everybody was doing it by the power of thought. So basically, every dream that you have, when you're in deep sleep, I don't mean daydreams, every dream that you have is of sorts, it's an out-of-body experience. And you're going to not a different dimension, it's a different density where you're lighter. So when you're so much lighter, the normal rules of physics don't apply, and you can fly. I also used to walk up and down ceilings all the time, and I was a big show-off, and I used to get my dreams, and I'd be walking up and down ceilings in rooms, and I was doing it all the time. So the normal rules of physics don't apply, and we're having these same dreams. Okay, this will become apparent in part 2, when I'm going to tell you how you can actually escape the matrix if you want to. There are other options, but you might not like them. So, lucid dreams. Does anybody have lucid dreams where you know that you're dreaming? So, if you know that you're dreaming, and if you knew where you were, geographically speaking, in relation to where you live, you could technically go back to your house and see yourself sleeping in your bed. Now, I've never done that, but I've had lucid dreams. I had one where I was in a park. I don't know what park it was. I was in the park and there was this gazebo type thing with these wooden benches, and I knew I was dreaming. So I said, I know I'm dreaming, I'm going to tap this bench to see if it's solid. It was solid. So even though we may go into another density in the dreams, it's still every bit as solid as this realm that we're in at the moment. Anybody else had lucid dreams where you've tested the solidity? Yep. Okay. So on to the main meat of the presentation. Who are we? Now, the vast majority of people think that the who we are is who you see when you look in the mirror. But that's not true. Let me just bring up a little screen share. I mean, there's a lot of problem with people now, particularly this New Age community, which I'm not a member of. I'm not a member of any religion or New Age community. They use the words spirit and soul as though they're interchangeable and it's the same thing, but they're not. They're wholly different parts of who we are. So you are spirit. This is if you're a real human, okay? And there are lots of people amongst us who don't possess all these things, and they're very jealous of us. But if you're a genuine human species, you're spirit within a soul, okay, trapped in an artificial soul construction, okay? And this is what's cutting you off from what is commonly known as source, okay? You're trapped in an artificial reality, this matrix, which is a subsection of the mother universe, which is a subsection of the fullness of creation. Okay, so the spirit is who you are. It's your core being at your higher self, and your spirit is eternal. It has always existed. Time does not apply to it. It didn't at one time not exist. It has always existed outside this matrix, or should I say patrix, because matrix is feminine, but this is a male-dominated world that we live in. So where did your spirit come from? Well, it was originally part of what's known as the divine feminine. Everything comes from the feminine. You were born from a woman, from the feminine. But we've been told that everything is Lord, God, Father, and that sort of stuff, as you see in the Bible. It's all been changed to be masculine. Okay, so from this original divine feminine, she wanted to find out more about herself. And what she did, she made up individuated and independent aspects of herself, and they were sent out to create universes. We have the power to create, but because we've forgotten who we are, it sounds like fantasy, but we all have the power to create. Okay, so the divine feminine is the first power, and she came forth from the all mind. Now, the all is the unknown, Okay, it's the unknown spirit. And you can read about this in the Nag Hammadi texts. The Nag Hammadi texts are scriptures. Okay, they've probably been around. The Vatican have probably had them in their library all this time, but apparently they came to light in the 1945 when they were found in the Middle East somewhere in some caskets. But there's lots of these Nag Hammadi texts, and if you haven't read them, they make very interesting reading. None of them are in the Bible, but once you start reading them, you'll know why they've not been put in the Bible, because it doesn't paint God in a very favourable light. So the qualities of the Spirit, the aspects of the Spirit are will, thought, life, understanding, grace, perception, thoughtfulness, memory, love, idea, peace, and wisdom. Okay, but in order for the aspects of the divine, the individuated spirits to interact within this physical realm, the Spirit needs to be inserted into a material energy body. That material energy body is the soul. Now, when the first race of humans came, which weren't on Earth, well, they were sort of, it's through the soul that the spirit is able to interact with the environment and collect these experiences back for the benefit of everybody. These experiences aren't getting back now because you've got this false oversoul on, which is blocking your connection to the Divine Mother or Source. Okay, so the soul houses the spirit to keep the spirit separate from the original source. So when you have all these new ages saying they want to go back to source, it doesn't sound like a very good idea, because if you could go back to source, you'd be giving up your individuality and becoming part of effectively a hive mind, which is what they've got planned for you in the future on Earth, in the near future, with the singularity, the cloud, where all your consciousness will be trapped if this goes ahead. Okay. So the soul collects these experiences, and by allowing spirit to interact with them, experiences it allows us to grow and create. Okay, we drew, and we still do, but we don't get as much. We draw energy from the central fire of the universe. Not what you can see out there. What you see out there is a copy. Yeah, NASA ain't been anywhere. That's why you saw when they went. I mean, they're trying to tell you that they're lying. When they went to Pluto, and they showed you the pictures of Pluto, you see Pluto, the Disney character, engraved on the planet Pluto. I mean, they've never been anywhere. It's just a farce. Okay, so when we were in our first abode, which was a place called Tiamat, it was a place much bigger than Earth. There was a constant flow of energy between us, flowing through our spirit, with the soul collecting it and sending the information back to source, and everything was harmonious. Okay, this was our original construction. So what happened? So the first ruler. Now you might say, who is the first ruler? The first ruler, okay, of this matrix, not of the universe as a whole, of this matrix, goes under lots of different names. Jehovah, God of the Bible. Enki, Lord of the earth. Ea, Lord of the water and the sea. Samael, God of the blind. Yaldabaoth, child pass through to here. Ariel, lion. Lucifer, bearer of light. Poseidon, God of water and the sea. Neptune, God of water. God, the biblical God. Demiurge, God of the material plane. Yahweh, it was actually a composite. It's somebody in the Bible, somebody with a multiple personality disorder, if you read the Old Testament.